let's get to know the Brocato Photography Collective founders, Angelena and Lyle Brocato. This interview is all about getting to know the personality behind the brand, and that's super important because couples spend so much time with their photographer. Here are 21 questions with the Brocatos.
Hi.
Hi, Adrian and the Uncommon Camellia team. Thank you guys so much for having us and thinking of us to do this. So let's answer some questions.
First, what's the most important part of your morning routine?
I wake up at 5:30 in the morning. We have 4 kids. I wake up at 5:30 before anybody else so that I'm really proud of that too, by the way,
Clearly.
so that I can do work, so that I can do editing, so that I can do the stuff that I normally do for work, which is mostly editing, organizing photos, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because once the kiddos wake up, it's really hard to accomplish much other than caring for kiddos. So I stay in bed. I do not wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I get coffee and then I get up. So for me, I guess the greatest part of my morning routine, it's twofold. One is just sort of taking that slow waking up time that I can just sort of be in silence for a moment, because that doesn't happen a lot either. So just sort of relishing the silence, even if it's for about 90 seconds, because sometimes that's all it is. And also exercise. That is a huge priority for both of us. Just to have the energy for the job, and then also the energy, obviously, for raising a family, because it takes a lot of energy. So, and if we don't do that in the morning, then as the day wears on, it gets harder and harder to actually make the dream of daily exercise a reality. So we have to make sure we accomplish that in the beginning. We read a book once called The One Thing, and it was a business book, but it talked about the importance of making the one thing that is of the most importance the first thing that you do, if you can. And that really resonated with me.
Describe your style of photography.
So I'll say that the style of our photography is definitely timeless and classic. It's polished. We don't put a lot of actions and filters and all those kinds of things onto our photos. We've been in this business now, and our team with us, for 13 years, going on 14 now. And one thing we've really worked hard on over this more than a decade's worth of time is getting it right in the camera. So meaning the color of your flowers, the color of your dresses, the color of your day is going to look true on the photo. So that's pretty important to us. So classic, timeless. One of our inspirations from the very, very beginning was we had this old copy of a Time magazine that featured JFK and Jackie's wedding. And they were very emotionally driven, very photojournalistic in style, which also is a huge part of our style, but also very polished. And you can, the emotion from those images resonated decades and decades later. And that's ultimately what we want for our couples with our style as well, is to be able to look at those photos forever and continue to feel not only look at the colors and the style choices and all of those things, but actually really feel something from the photos that they're looking at.
It's pretty much one of the things that I tell our couples when we have a consultation and they ask that question. I say classic. I kind of bring up the JFK thing. And I tell them that I don't want them to look back at their photos 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now and think that there's anything trendy about them. We want it to just be true to their day. And that's it. Tell their story, be true to the day.
You run your business together and at times work actual weddings together, and it seems to work really, really well between you two. Tell us what your secret is.
We like each other.
We do. We've been married, we will have our 20-year wedding anniversary in January. We like each other a lot. I think he's a keeper. But even if you love somebody a whole lot, sometimes it is really challenging to work together. So I think for us, though, we've always had this lifestyle, whether it was in pursuit of acting careers, which is still a thing that is happening in our lives. So whether it was in pursuit of that, we waited tables in college together, and then now we have this business together. So it's sort of been ingrained in us from the very beginning of our relationship, which was in high school. And I'd also like to say that a tremendous amounts of compassion for where the other person is. So there have been the hiccups in us working together have been things like, I've got office work to do, Lyle. I've got albums to design. The team is coming over and we're having a meeting and all these things, and I need to organize that. And then he works on the editing the bulk of the time, and there's a timeline for those sorts of things, and we've got to accomplish the editing on time. So I think that sort of back and forth of who's got what going on and having to sort of prioritize whose work is more important in any given moment, that's probably been the stickiest parts. But that was it. That came along by, I guess, reinvigorating our routine, with Lyle talking about waking up at 5:30 a.m. and accomplishing his most important tasks for the day. Gives me a window of time later as the day progresses to sort of sneak in my moments of quote unquote office time wherever I can get it. So that sort of structure and scheduling has really given rise to a fluid working environment for us as a married couple. And then the compassion part is just recognizing that the work that he is doing is super important, and our couples need that sort of responsiveness from us to not lag on editing forever. So just both sides of the coin are super important.
For sure.
What is the one thing couples seem to overlook when it comes to photography?
I would say, okay, for me, he might say something different, but I think that it's important to have a photographer who doesn't rely only on natural light. So this is more of a technical element. It is so lovely to get great natural light beaming in through a window, or a beautiful outdoor reception with perfect weather, or an outdoor ceremony. Like, that is gorgeous. I am not criticizing those moments, because I will take those moments too. However, it isn't the case for most events here in South Louisiana, where we get lots of rain, and so most people are having indoor events or evening events. So having a photography team that understands the importance of quality lighting, and that's one thing that especially Lyle has been so good at, and our team is so good at, is manufacturing light that enhances your day and doesn't take away from the ambient light of your day. So by that sounded really technical and like a lot of jargon, but when you're in an indoor reception, a ballroom or what have you, and you've got beautiful uplighting that your incredible wedding design and coordinating team like Uncommon Camellia has designed for you, with all these beautiful colors just sort of creating splashes around, and then maybe there's beautiful chandeliers that have a lovely candlelight sort of glow to them, and that was the vibe you want for your reception, and then your pictures come back looking like crazy flash extravaganza, like no direction, no ambiance to it. And so that's where our team really excels, is we understand our lighting, both outdoor and indoor, both natural and created, to such a degree that we can really enhance and capture the mood of your day, as opposed to just sort of throwing together something to just brighten up a room, if that makes sense. I'm sure he has a different opinion. Let's see what your
definitely that for sure. It's funny because yes, definitely that for sure. But the other thing is organization. I think your photographer needs to be organized. You should have a sense of that whenever you have a consultation with them. Asking how they work throughout their day, how do they stay organized throughout their day. There's so much happening, and we're not always lucky enough to work with you guys and coordinators who are well organized and leading the couple from one place to the next. I think it's very important that your photographer knows how to do that. We build a list, a schedule for the day, a timeline for the day for ourselves and for the couple. And so we have time markers in there that are going to tell us when we get from point A to point B, when we're getting dressed, when we're taking these photos, making a formal photo list within that schedule, so that everything is super organized. And when it comes time to do those things like formal photos, which not everybody enjoys, we're doing that stuff in 10 or 15 minutes. So I think most couples really appreciate that, especially on the day, and they don't necessarily expect it. But it's a really, really, really nice, lovely thing to have on the day, to be organized.
100%. And most people really want the bulk of their photography to be the more emotionally driven photos, the what most people call candids. And the only way to get to those types of photos is to efficiently work through the formal photos where everyone is looking at the camera and smiling, because those are important too, that sort of historical documenting, as well as those more emotionally driven photos.
Where are you traveling when it becomes safe to do so?
Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, we were just talking about it yesterday. I think the last trip vacation we took with our kids was LA. We lived in LA for like 5 years when we were pursuing acting and doing a little bit of photography then. But it's like a second home to us. We love it so much. We have a lot of friends out there that we miss. So that's someplace we definitely had.
Oh, yeah. And I have been watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood kind of on repeat. I love that movie so much. Being in the film world, we have a high regard for great movies, and for me that's a really great movie. Plus the nostalgia element of Los Angeles in the 60s, like, oh my gosh. So I've been watching it so much, and now I just want to go. I keep texting all of my LA friends saying, when this is over, can we please have a dinner date at Casa Vega in the Valley, please? So 100% Los Angeles. But we do have a couple of destination weddings coming up. Sorry about that. We do have a couple of destination weddings coming up in Hawaii and Las Vegas, so that will be fun. That'll just be the two of us.
When did you first start photographing weddings?
Probably 2007. Yeah, because we're like at 13 years, so I think 2007.
2007.
Yep.
And we photographed for a friend who already had a photographer, but we had just invested in our first camera. And Lyle was standing in the wedding, and I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to take my camera and I'm just going to shoot around a little bit. I'm not going to get in anybody's way. This isn't for me to sell to them. This isn't anything like that. I just want to see if I have an eye for it. And that was the first wedding that was ever shot. And I realized in wedding one that the only way to do this in the way that we wanted to do it was to have at least a two photographer team. So that as one person is getting the looking at the camera shots, the more formal ones that are, like I said, totally necessary, the other person can capture some of that beautiful off-camera sort of behind-the-scenes stuff that's happening. So yeah, 2007 is when we started. It's been a minute.
What do you hope your children will learn from your work as entrepreneurs?
Being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Hands down.
Yeah.
Because life as an entrepreneur is anything but comfortable. It's fun, it's lively, it's always something different. It's, having a decent bit of control of your schedule if you're doing it right. So many magical things about being an entrepreneur. The price you pay is having to be comfortable when it's uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable a lot.
Yeah, I think our kids, at this point, we've been doing this for 13 years and we're pretty consistent with our business right now. So that's great. So I don't think our kids have ever experienced the uncomfortable side of their parents being entrepreneurs. But I think from their perspective, what I hope they appreciate is the freedom that it gives you and the creativity that it gives you to be with your family so much throughout the week, which is unlike, most families who work 9-to-5 jobs. I don't think they appreciate that yet, but I think down the line they'll have an understanding of like, wow, mom and dad were around a lot.
Yeah, I don't think they appreciate that yet, because they still get mad if we have to leave or take an hour to do something like this and send them to their grandparents' house. They still get mad at us. So one day they will appreciate it though.
Are there any places in New Orleans that you haven't photographed but would love to?
I know Common Camellia team had their annual retreat at a newer venue called Infinity Farms, and I have been following them on social, and I have a great appreciation for this sort of garden, sort of outdoor alfresco world mixed with a modernization of clean lines and craft cocktails and beautiful indoor spaces as well. So I haven't even visited there yet, but I saw photos from your team's retreat, and I think it looks fantastic. So I would be really excited to visit there and shoot something there.
What she said.
What's your favorite cocktail?
Ooh, cocktails. So there's a bunch, but recently we shot a micro wedding. So we were shooting only the ceremony phase of their wedding day, and then the rest of their wedding event is going to be in 2021. So that meant that we had a babysitter for X amount of hours. We were only shooting for a far fewer amount of hours. So we went and grabbed ourselves a cocktail and some dinner. Okay, so the cocktail there, I feel ridiculous that I didn't know about this specific cocktail sooner than now because it's been around for a long time, but it's called Fitzgerald. And all it is, you get yourself a really great herbaceous gin. So Hendrix is a great example. So that has great notes of juniper, a little citrus, but it's not a flavored gin. It's just the way that one is distilled. So Hendrix gin, fresh lemon juice, a little homemade simple syrup, and 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. So that's a little bit of an orange bitter as well. 2 dashes of that. Shake it all up in your cocktail shaker with ice, and then pour it over a few rocks as well. And on top, I put a little lemon twist to make it pretty. And then another 2 dashes of the bitters on top, just to let it have that little amber orangey color sort of starting to float down to the bottom and all throughout. So anyway, I'm about to go make one because I'm taping this on my birthday. So yeah, that's the cocktail, a Fitzgerald. It's classy, it's fun, it's totally refreshing.
I'm a sucker for an old fashioned. Sazerac in New Orleans at the Roosevelt, they do a really good old fashioned. That dinner that she was talking about, I had a Gold Rush, which was also bourbon with lemon juice and honey. That's right. Oh my God, so good, so good.
Yeah, we like it at cocktails.
Take us back to when you started your business. How did it all begin?
So when we first started, we were shooting everything and anything possible. We started off with like children and family, like photojournalistic style family shoots, which we didn't see a lot of in our area. So we did really well with that. That was our bread and butter for a while. We got into some sports photography stuff and then slowly started building the wedding side of things. And I would say probably by 20,
It was like 2008.
2008, 2009,
Yeah.
I think that's when we kind of focused in on weddings purely and have been doing weddings since, with some portrait stuff here and there.
Finish this sentence. My best clients always ask.
I think the question that I always appreciate the most is when they ask us, what is your favorite part of a wedding day? I really like getting that question a lot. And when I'm working with other vendors, like I have someone designing a logo for me for something that I'm doing, and when I'm working with other vendors, I'm all about sort of that emotional side. Like, let me just communicate to you my headspace and my emotion, and then you take it from there. So for somebody to come to us and sort of tell us their inspiration and what they're most excited about their wedding day, that of course typically it's getting married, but like the other parts of things, sort of the more like fun, frivolous stuff, wedding cakes, dresses, like whatever your style is. And so to have that kind of question come back to me, it means a lot to me, and I really enjoy talking about that too. So for somebody to say, what is your favorite part of the wedding day? And for me personally, that answer is the preparation. So like the day of the wedding, when us or our team shows up to you, and you guys are getting ready, all those precious moments leading up to ceremony time are just, it's like a kid in a candy store emotionally. There's so much happening. There's anticipation, there's excitement, there's nostalgia, there's a little bit of that fun, rushed energy. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Moments with parents, now that we are parents ourselves, I just see our own life sort of unfolding in front of us. And it makes the whole thing so, so, so sweet.
For me, I love technical questions. I love when our clients ask how we light certain things, and it shows me that they have some knowledge of photography and that they are thinking of those aspects when trying to choose a photographer to make sure that we are able to light in a dark reception venue. I think it's super important. So I like those questions.
What are your hobbies?
Raising kids are our hobbies.
There's no other time for other hobbies. Movies, why? I mean,
Yeah.
Kids go to bed, I try to hurry and throw on a couple episodes of Buffy, although I have curated a handful of episodes that are kid-friendly that they can watch and they love it. But yes, throw on a couple episodes of Buffy. We're all about Lovecraft Country right now. Ted Lasso on Apple TV. I already mentioned at some point about my love for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So we love film going to the movie theater when movie theaters were functioning fully that was date night straight up. Any other hobbies?
Yeah, I mean, before kids there was golf and things like that, but not that much anymore.
But we're not really talking about pre-kid hobbies. At the beginning of quarantine for COVID, I bought all these watercolor kits because I wanted to have fun with the kids, and I thought, oh my gosh, we're in this for the long haul, which we are in this for the long haul. But I have yet to break out more than one of those watercolor kits. So I really wanted my hobby to be painting, but that part hasn't happened yet.
Tell us a duty you have on wedding day that most people don't know about.
Being mini organizers for a wedding day, for sure. Massive troubleshooters.
Yeah, troubleshooting. We tell our team all the time that's our job. Like, they expect that we're going to take good photos, but our job throughout the day is to troubleshoot. That you're going to run into lighting issues, walking into a hotel room that's full of like bags and dresses or clothes. I mean, like, constantly trying to make things look as best as possible. That's our job.
I'd also say with absolute certainty that it's also 100% being a calming presence. Because, I mean, come on, it doesn't matter how organized and how fluid your day is, there are going to be moments that perhaps might be more emotionally charged. That doesn't mean bad. That just means like caught up in the moment. There's lots of sights and sounds all around. It can be sort of a sensory overload at times for our couples. And so for us, as being a calming presence means that, and everything that we do lends to that, meaning being organized, understanding the technical side of photography, all of these things, because we have such a firm grasp and understanding of that, and we make those things happen, that gives us the room to sort of be this fluid, flowing person that is present with you on the day of the wedding. And there have been countless times when, outside of the church or, just in the back section of church before the bride walks down the aisle, there's a lot of hustle and bustle. There's the lady at the church who's trying to keep everybody quiet and organized and make sure the straps are pulled up and all that stuff. Flower girl may have just walked back there. Maybe somebody saw the ring bearer for the first time. And so there's a whole lot of beautiful, wonderful electric energy. And then for me to see the bride in the corner who's like trying to regather her focus and to step in and maybe mention to one of the bridesmaids, hey, this might be a great time for a little group prayer. That has gone so far, so many times, creating little pockets of stillness, silence, and peace on a day that can sometimes seem like a blur. So being calm, and then what he said. Yeah, that. Organizing. Troubleshooting.
Yeah.
Troubleshooting, calming presence.
Yeah.
Boom.
How do you take your coffee or your tea?
I take my coffee black.
Black. It used to not be that way, but I don't know. Black.
Maybe
simple, fast. I don't know.
We've had to up level our game as our life has continued to up level, I suppose.
I think it's also like because I wake up at 5:30 in the morning.
What's your pattern?
It is, thank you. We want to make as little noise as possible. So the coffee is already ready. All I have to do is push a button and then pour into a cup. So I can't be stirring, clinking a spoon around at 5:30 in the morning. It doesn't work.
We really appreciate great coffee, so we grind our beans at home. So that is one of those things where we definitely have to do that at night. There have been a couple times where we've forgotten, and we have to take that coffee bean grinder and move it into in our laundry room, close the door, shove a towel under, and grind those beans anyway, because you got to do what you got to do.
Gotta have it.
Teach us something that you wish people understood about photography in 1 minute.
I think one thing that probably most people don't understand is, as a photographer, the main focus for us in stepping into a new space or even shooting outside is light. That's what we're looking for. It is the first thing that we look for when we step into a room. It means everything. So it's going to dictate where we shoot most of the time. And it's not because there is a certain look that we want for like our prep photos. We are going to add some light with our on-camera flash or off-camera flash to that, but it also means a great deal to know where our natural light is coming from. So, you know, we pick spots sometimes that aren't necessarily the most beautiful tree in the city park or whatever, but we chose that the other spot because that's where the light looks the best. That's where the client's going to look the most beautiful. Backgrounds mean something to us, but it's not the most important thing to us. It's where the light is and how the light is going to affect the client, because that's the only thing that matters, is how the client is going to look.
Yeah. In crime, you follow the money, and in photography, you follow the light.
For sure.
What do you work towards in your free time?
So once again, there's not a lot of that elusive stuff called free time in our lives, but I would say that I guess you could call the time that we exercise would be free time. Really though, it would just be filled with something else in the homemaking world. So, you know, cooking something or cleaning something or folding something. So I guess that's kind of what we're doing with what would be considered free time. And, you know, for us though, it's the exercise element of our lives is a non-negotiable. So that's why I'm kind of dancing around the whole free time thing. But yeah, so I guess that's what we do is that. And then we also, I mean, it's not so much that we're multitasking. It's just that any pocket of time, sometimes we allow that to be filled with silence. Other times, like if I'm getting dressed in the morning, I try to put on a little podcast or something that I can listen to, whether it's something comedic and just entertainment based, or it's something informational, or it's something with personal development, just something to kind of, you know, have a little fun. So
Yeah,
that's
same here.
really more about just double using some time.
What's your favorite quarantine project?
Swimming pool. We built a swimming pool. Well, we didn't build
Yeah,
it.
we didn't build it.
We hired someone to build a swimming
Yeah.
pool.
And a garden, which we did. We did that. That
Yeah.
was first,
That was first.
and that went well.
So again, the way the light falls around our house is we get baked in the front area of our house. So like the front driveways and our backyard, we'd never done anything with it, and that gets shade. So we were day 2 of quarantine when the kids were out of school. We looked at each other and were like, this is not gonna work. I'm not sitting out here, and it was pleasant that day. I'm not sitting out here for months and months at a time for our only outdoor home-based activity to be roasting on the front driveway, riding bikes and playing basketball. What can we do with the back? I'm calling somebody about a swimming pool. So we have a swimming pool now, and it's amazing. I can't even believe it's real. We go out there, we listen to music. I make a cocktail, and then we play lifeguard with our kids. That's kind of what happens. The garden is dying a slow death right now, but only because I blame the pool project, because it made everything really messy, and it was like a moat we were going to have to cross to get to the garden. But that's about to be rejuvenated and given new life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's going to do it.
Your favorite business book?
I just read a great one. It's called Think Like a Rocket Scientist. And it's all about approaching your business life and your home life through the principles of rocket science. So taking things down to first principles theory, starting from the beginning, acting like, always trying to prove yourself wrong instead of proving yourself right, so that you can see maybe around some blind spots that you would be blinded to otherwise, because just naturally we're always trying to prove ourselves right? So that was super enlightening, super helpful, and understanding, I guess, sort of not being afraid to fail, but also not being frivolous with failure. Because I think there is and they talk about it in the book, so I won't go into too much detail, but they talk about how the culture right now is like fail fast, fail hard, fail often, but I'm not sure if that's the exact quote, but it's roughly that, as opposed to, sure, it's okay to fail, but be very mindful about that. Like, you still want to approach it with vigor and focus, and then if it fails, it's okay, but not being frivolous with the concept of failure. So I just really loved that book.
Yeah, and problem solving beyond the obvious problem that you're presented. I thought that was something I gathered from the book that was really helpful.
So we highly recommend it. 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up.
What is your favorite New Orleans backdrop for engagement pictures?
I tend to lean towards City Park. I like City Park because you get the oak trees. The lighting is usually gorgeous there, but you also have the peristyles, the structures there that give you a completely different look and feel to an engagement shoot. So I like both of them. I like that spot the most.
And then when people are doing bridal sessions, oftentimes we'll choose Longview in Old Metairie because it's manicured and polished, but it still has this sort of lived-in vibe to all of their outdoor gardens, the oak trees that are lining the front path. Like there's just a lot of really lovely things happening there. And again, the light is pretty magical in that spot too. And we have done engagement sessions there with people bring a little bottle of champagne, do a toast. It's like maybe a touch fancier. So
Sure.
yeah, good options.
Sure. And where can we find you on social media?
You can find us on Instagram at Brocato Photography. So follow us there. We do try to update daily with either who our newest couples are or a real client testimonial, and then of course imagery. So you can definitely find us on there. We update that regularly. And Facebook, we do have that. It's Brocato Photography as well. But I don't update that quite as regularly, but it does still have information, and we do still respond to messages that come in through there.
Thank y'all so much for being on our YouTube show. It was great getting to know you guys a little more.
Thank you, Adrian.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Uncommon Camellia is just, when we're working with you guys, we know that the couples are in such great hands, and we too feel so taken care of, and like we're all on the same page. And that is such a wonderful, wonderful blessing to all couples out there. They need you guys, they need people all being on the same page, and they need that comfort going into their wedding day knowing that their vendors have got their back. So thank you so much for including us, giving us this opportunity to help people get to know us and our business better. Our team is so stoked to be getting back into the wedding world now that things are starting to open back up bit by bit, and we're very optimistic about all of the incredible weddings that New Orleans is going to be having.